Hello everyone, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my 2D design art portfolio, and I did do this my junior year, so it's been a year since I've actually looked back on this portfolio. So it's also gonna be like me reacting to this portfolio, which is I think gonna be kind of interesting. But I've always wanted to do a video like this because when I was trying to kind of figure out my own portfolio junior year, I looked on YouTube for videos of other people's, and those really helped me. So I just wanted to add to the collective and be of help to other aspiring 2D design portfolio people. And hopefully you guys get a little bit more clarity on the process, and also get a bit of inspiration for what you want to do for your portfolio and be a little less stressed about it, because I remember I was very confused at the beginning of this class. But moving on, to start, for a little bit of context, I did do my portfolio during COVID, so I had that entire year where we were essentially remotely learning to do my entire portfolio, and that meant a lot more time. That was like a slight advantage I had for this portfolio, and that's why I think I got a good score on it. I also think because it was junior year, I was just very excited to finally be able to do an art portfolio that was like fully, that wasn't prompted by anything. It was fully my own kind of like baby, my creation. So I was very excited about it, and then because of that, I also felt like I was able to kind of have a lot of layers and a lot of dimensions. I'm gonna start by reading out my artist statement that you have to write, because I think it'll help everyone kind of understand the concept that I was going for. Mine, written evidence, it says, inspired by the phrase "love you and rose," I wonder if it's truly better to view life positively while ignoring all ills, or will a sugar-coated view eventually become destructive? I want the audience to see my works first for its aesthetic beauty, but upon further inquiry, notice oddities similar to that of a thriller movie. The works follow a sequential structure, with each piece being more obvious in its representation of the destructive reality. So the first 4 pieces set the scene to show the most sugar-coated view, focusing on what is typically depicted as a utopia. Slowly, the pieces get more intense. For example, number 5 depicts unknowing isolation of materialism and artificial beauty. And then in the last 3 pieces, a want to escape emerges, and ultimately the trapped feeling remains. I started off painting with acrylics, but then moved to gouache and oils to match the mood of the individual pieces. To still have cohesion, I worked with a rosy and dreamlike color palette with hazy backgrounds and soft lighting, painting in a style inspired by the Impressionist era, and with revolving motifs, glass, bubbles, and ribbons to represent bigger themes such as fragility and unknown confinement. So that's everything that is basically encapsulates this portfolio. And we can move on to the actual sustained investigation. So I'm sure you already know the structure if you're in the 2D design class, but to sum it up, basically you're supposed to do like, I think 15 pieces for your sustained investigation, and then you do 5 pieces that are your selected works. And at the time, I didn't know your selected works were different from, or could be the same pieces as your sustained investigation, but apparently they can. I basically submitted 20 pictures, but I think 4 of those were detail shots. So what is that, like 16 total works is what I submitted. So we're gonna start out. I have the pieces next to me because I did paint them myself. Some of them are ugly, and then I hated them after this, so then I repainted on top of them, so those are gone, but I'll like insert a picture here. But for the first piece, this is the first piece. I was really inspired by glass for this portfolio, so I wanted to start out with something that was very just aesthetically beautiful and kind of showed the theme of what everything was gonna look like. So they're glass roses, and they're kind of like circular, just that's the composition I decided on. They also kind of have a contrasting color theme because I wanted them to stand out. And yeah, so this is the first piece that kind of shows the beautified artificial aspect, because they're roses, but they're not natural. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm too used to kind of like making fun of my own art. Moving on, we have this piece. And this piece, this is actually, I guess technically like a still life, because all these are inspired by actual makeup pieces I have. And what do I want to say about this piece? But yeah, this piece is inspired by like kind of the kind of artificialness of the makeup industry, and just beauty in general is very artificial because like you put 1,000 pounds of product on your face in order for you to look a certain way. So that's this. It also kind of just shows like beauty though, because it's like very beautiful that like, you know, these products are packaged really beautifully and they look very beautiful. Moving on. The third piece, this is kind of like the cover piece, if you know what I mean, because it really, this whole portfolio was inspired by the phrase La Vie en Rose, and La Vie en Rose is like wearing rose-colored glasses in French. So I want to take that, but then make it into something a little more fitting for my portfolio. And essentially it's like something's covering the face, so you're kind of not seeing the world for what it is. This is kind of the most blatant way I showed my theme in this portfolio. And yeah, I use a palette knife for these things. I'm really proud of the detailing on this actually. I really like the way this looks even now. So next piece is this piece. It's pretty tiny. But essentially it's 2 wine glasses, and there's gold leaf on almost every single one for cohesion's sake. And this piece is focused on kind of the toxicity and the kind of destructive nature of drinking, and just kind of how humans use certain activities to physically and mentally blind themselves from reality sometimes. So like when you drink, you get intoxicated, and then you essentially, your perception of the world changes. And I think a lot of people drink in order to have that experience. So this is kind of just acknowledging that and showing how in real life we truly do kind of blind ourselves to reality sometimes. Okay, moving on from that, oh, we have this one. Okay, so this piece is special to me because I drew this I think freshman year as like a mini little like surrealism kind of sketch for like a warm-up, and that I was like stumbling through my sketchbook and I found that sketch, and I thought this would be perfect for this portfolio. So I kind of modified it, of course, and I painted it, but it looks something like this. And these pieces are actually kind of connected because, as you can see, they're both yellow cups and yellow fishes, and then red fish, red cup. So I wanted to have cohesion in that aspect too. And essentially it's saying that like we're goldfishes, and we are surrounded by opulence sometimes, but it's fake, because in the end you're a goldfish and you're trapped inside this like little glass cage, but you don't know it, and you think that life is amazing because you have all these amazing things next to you, but truly you're just trapped in the end. Kind of dark, but that's the whole, I think, point of this portfolio, was I wanted to kind of show darkness in a beautiful way. There's that. So the next piece, it's glass, and I don't have it fully complete because it was more of an experimental piece, so I'll just show a picture of it here. So this piece was kind of me just experimenting. I really wanted to work on actual glass, so the kind of protruding parts that are painted are all on like a clear piece of glass, or it was more like a plastic piece of glass, and the background was like a watercolor background I did. But essentially I wanted to kind of just do something a bit more experimental, like painting, and then I was inspired by, I think Artsy Peach is her name on Instagram, and she does these things where she paints on like a lot of different surfaces, and I kind of loved the idea of painting on like a glass surface or like a mirror surface. So I did that, and I didn't know what to paint, so I just kind of painted the basic motifs that I had for this portfolio. And so yeah, this is how it turned out. It's not my favorite piece in there, but I guess it was really just to show experimentation, and that I can do more than just kind of do illustrative paintings. So yeah, moving on from that. Okay, so this next piece is oil. It's one of the 2 oil pieces in this portfolio. The rest I think are acrylic or gouache. So this would represent like the heaviness of beauty and like the struggles of life, as well as kind of a beautiful metaphor of that. And it's basically like the weight of the necklaces is forcing her neck to kind of, I don't know why I did it in this pose. I thought it would look cool, but I don't know how cool it really looks. But yeah, I struggled a lot with this painting. I think that's why I hate it so much. Like, I think the face just looks so weird to me. And I was just not a fan of this. And oil is just not really my favorite medium, but yeah, that's this piece. I think it would be better just like here, like the details of it is pretty nice. I think I like this section a lot more than like the full thing. But this is like my second oil piece, and I think as my second oil piece, it's pretty good. So there's that, but still not my favorite. The hair is really nice though. Now that I look back, I think I did the hair kind of well. But yes, okay, that's this piece. Oh, I want to point out something, is that the hair color kind of changed. I thought that was cool to kind of show off. And I intentionally did do this because I wanted her to kind of be more and more pulled into this kind of fake beauty artificial world. And I wanted to show that she was increasingly getting faker with kind of like every progressive painting. Okay. Moving on is this piece that I truly hate so much that I covered it, and it's actually I think a still life of some unfinished flowers right now. But yeah, I truly hate this painting so much because it's my first time working with oils, and I think everything on it looks so flat, and it took me so long to do, and it was just like I kept trying to make it better, but it never worked. But then it came time for me to submit it, so I had to, and this is what I submitted. But truly was not a fan. Super duper not a fan. Anyways, this piece is kind of self-explanatory, I think. It's kind of like she's being trapped in the opulence. She's being trapped in the in reality. Very much so all like kind of metaphorical, and all very much so metaphors to what I was going through at the time. But essentially it was just a very large feeling of being trapped in life and trying to deal with that. Next piece, this is my favorite piece. I love this piece so much. It's my favorite piece I've ever done. It's supposed to kind of represent like how trapped one hand feels in the water, and this other hand is kind of like coming to like pull them out, or they want to pull themselves out. That's kind of like the vibe that I was trying to go for with this piece, is like one hand being really submerged in this fake reality, and the other hand being like, hey, this isn't right, this isn't true. And just that push and pull, but in a really pretty way. I love the lines that I did here. Now that I'm looking back on it, this reminds me of like the Ariana Grande God is a Woman music video. Which wasn't intentional, but I guess I pulled inspiration from there subconsciously. Okay, moving on from that one, we have this piece. I love this piece too. This piece is kind of like a close-up of this is bubble piece, so they're connected like that. And it's every kind of image depicted in these pieces are actually a reference to a previous piece you've already seen. So this one is kind of representative of the toxicity and the drinking and the wine glasses. This one is of the makeup. This one is of the like face mask with the flowers. This one is of the girl with the 1,000 necklaces. This one is representative of the piece with just glass. So yeah, I really like this piece because I think it does what I wanted. It currently encapsulates my main goals of this portfolio, because I did want to have cohesion, and this is like a continuation of the last one, and then it like had in the piece itself, it has depictions of the other pieces, and then also I think like the depth on it is just really good. Like I always am fascinated by like drawing clear things, So I think like the idea of this being like a bunch of close-up bubbles is just such a cool idea, and I'm really glad that I executed it well. Moving on. Ooh, we have our last piece. I only did 11 pieces for this portfolio, and this piece I'm just going to show on screen because I don't know where it is. And it's essentially a view of the window right here. And I painted this in quarantine, and it was really just me being sad that I was so distant from all my friends and everyone, and that like the lack of social interaction really got to me. So I painted my window, and I wanted the clouds to kind of come in to my room. So I didn't really paint this for the portfolio, but I think it works really well because it's my way of showing like the reality in this world that I've built is acknowledged to be fake. And then the person that's living in this world right now, the girl, wants kind of the true reality to kind of come in, but it's kind of like, will that ever happen? Or is that even realistic? So that's kind of like the messaging behind it. I don't know if any of this made sense, because me explaining my own art is really hard to me because there's so many nuanced pieces of it. And I think I explained it maybe in a way that only I understand, but regardless, I hope it was helpful. For my next 4 images that I had to include for the stain investigation, they were just kind of, they weren't full pieces, they were just shots or sketches. So for the 12th piece, this is a sketch of my original ideas. So full disclosure, this isn't actually the sketch that I did originally. I do my sketches on paper, so I sketched everything in a sketchbook, but that doesn't make for a cute like layout. So I went onto my iPad and I essentially drew out what I drew on paper but made it look prettier. So you can kind of see the influences and how things changed over the course of my actual making of the pieces, but these were like the original stems. Moving on, image 13 is just pretty. I just like how this picture looked when I was painting it. And I think kind of shows like what I was trying to go for with this entire portfolio anyways. It matches like the vibes, so. Next, my teacher really liked this image because she said that it showed a progress and process, and that's like something that students tend to get mixed up. So like progress is like the bottom part, kind of like the piece being continued and being done, but then process is like me doing my own reference shots. So she really liked that, and then I also did sketches because I was scared that I was gonna mess up the hands. So I think that really showed that I cared a lot about the project, which I think made my score be better. So next, this kind of shows setup, which I think is also pretty important. It kind of makes you seem like a person that actually drew them, instead of just a sheet of paper with some paintings on them that the judges have to grade. So yeah, this is kind of my workspace. It's actually my floor down there, if you can see part of it. That's usually where I work. That's it for my stain investigation. I don't know if the way I explained it really made like the amount of sense that I wanted it to, but I think at least this will be helpful in helping you guys form your own kind of stories and artworks. For my selected works, they're not that important, so I'm just going to show them on screen a little bit and kind of talk about them. When I was looking at portfolios, they were talking more about like breadth and concentration, which is I think what they used to do instead of this like stain investigation and selected works thing. And so this was the selected works I think replaced the breadth, and breadth is supposed to be kind of pieces that show your range and how many kind of like different mediums and styles can you do. So I kind of just use that as my kind of reference point. And so the first piece that I included in my selected works was this piece actually back there, but I'll show a closer photo right here. They're just jellyfishes. Now that I look back on it, the like actual like painting style, like the technique is mid, but at the time I really liked the way this looked, and it was the first piece where I really thought that like, oh, this is like the style that I want to have when I paint, so that's why it was like an important landmark piece for me. Second is also another aquatic creature, but this is done in pen, so I think it shows breath, and that's why I included it. It was really just like a I was gonna say like a still life study, but it was like a bone study. Like my teacher is assigned for all of us to do something skeletal, so I picked an anglerfish. Next, this piece is honestly mid, but I think it's the concept behind it is interesting. I was trying to kind of show the idea of like first impressions being your thoughts and kind of your character instead of your physical appearance. And so because of that, I made like the flowers, your thoughts, really vibrant, and then I kind of made the actual person a very like neutral gray color. And so it's also like a contrast of like organic and industrial. So that's this piece. And then next is this piece. And this is kind of just like a plant study with my parents' plants. And it's inspired by like kind of like Maltese looking artwork. And also like the very like trendy kind of gouache styled artworks that are kind of floating on Instagram. And so that's this piece. I like it. I think it's cute. Last but not least, it's this piece. I hate this piece now, but at the time I was really into it. I really like the way the like bottom of the dress look, and I still really like the way the dress looks, but the face in this piece is so bad. I don't know why I was so obsessed with it. The face is so weird. Like the proportions of the face is so bad. Like the chin is so tiny. Oh my god, what's wrong with me? Anyways, this piece is inspired by like kind of how what this portfolio represents too, which is kind of how your exterior sometimes doesn't match how you feel on the inside. So the girl in this picture is like crying. Her eyes are really red if you zoom in close enough. But she's like dressed in such like beautiful garbs, and it's kind of a nod to how just because someone has like everything physically and appearance wise, maybe they don't have it together mentally. So there's that piece. That's the end of my 2D design portfolio. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you thought that it helped you somehow. And if you're not even in 2D design and you're just watching this to look at some art, I hope you enjoyed looking at my art. If you want me to sell you any of these pieces, I am open to maybe doing that, so contact me. And yeah, I think overall, if you have the drive and the passion for art, and if you kind of make a portfolio that has layers to it, so for example, if you like want to draw birds for the entire year, kind of like align the birds with a deeper, grander theme. Like for instance, when I think of birds, I think of like freedom. So maybe it's like a progression of like a bird that was once caged trying to find freedom, and you tie it into like your childhood or something. I don't know. I'm making that up, but something like that, so that it's like a bigger, grander picture, and you can have lots of elements to put into it and make it look like it's its own little world. I think that's kind of your best shot at getting a good score. Don't be too nervous. It'll all be okay, and in the end, have fun with it, because this is the first time probably that you're able to kind of make an entire body of work that is fully a child of your own brain power and of your own thoughts. And that is something that I will always treasure from this experience, because now I have this amazing body of work that represents a lot of who I am, and I'll always be grateful for that. So yeah. There's nothing else I have left to say. I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Have fun. Good luck on your art portfolio.